Welcome to the Seeking Wellness podcast, a journey to discover balance, wholeness, and holistic ways to thrive. I'm your host, Tash from We Are for Wellness, and together we will explore and discover ways to lead a more balanced life, mind, body, and soul. Are you curious about alternative therapies, starting your spiritual journey, or simply looking for practical ways to feel better? You're in the right place. Through inspiring conversations with expert providers and healers, this podcast is here to guide you. Let's explore and seek the path to wellness together. This was such a great episode with Colin. There's even a practical element that he goes through as well with seeing energy, feeling energy with your hands. We also talk about the Egyptians and auras and energy fields to do with them as well. It was really interesting and eye-opening. So I hope you enjoy it too, and let's get into the episode. Hi everyone, welcome to the episode. So have you ever walked into a room and maybe felt intense, heavy energy, or the opposite, so light, kind of free and airy energy? Well, today I'm going to be talking to Colin, who's a holistic wellness coach, all about energy and the auras and cleaning the energy in our house as well. Hi Colin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi Tash, hi, I'm pleased to be here. Thanks for the chance to have a chat on the subject.
Would you like to first of all start with giving us some kind of background information about the work that you do and kind of what even brought you here?
Yeah, so I've always been fascinated with this area. I was trying to remember yesterday before this podcast when I first got interested. I remember going to an aura class when I was like 14. So there's something about this area. I think a lot of people are immediately attracted to whatever's outside the box of what we're learning at school, right? So, or maybe you've seen something and you tried to talk to somebody and you can't get any intelligent conversation going, so you end up going to books and trying to find out what you can. So I've had a kind of trace all through my life of the mystical, searching out the spiritual, the energetic side of things, trying to look for the best in different religions and ways. And along the way, of course, you start applying methods to yourself about well-being, energetic well-being. That extends to the ecology. And so today, I run groups in Brazil and internationally, teaching about the subjects in general, and also offer holistic therapy for people that are they're not so interested in all the things connected, like ancient Egypt and Stonehenge and all that stuff, but they do want to get some tools to apply on themselves and in the home and maybe in relationships to do with energy because they can feel. Some people get very disturbed. I think science even recognizes a kind of people that are very disturbed by electromagnetic fields and things like that. It's actually like officially recognized.
Okay.
But they normally go to things like what's officially registered as an electromagnetic field, like artificial electricity, because we don't have machines really that detect all the subtleties of the energy of the home, of the energy of the body. So until science proves it, it's just left out of the conversation. But a lot of people do feel those types of energies as well. And really, even if a person feels it or not, without some sort of self-care and some care of the ecology, it's affecting us, whether you know it or not. Like, remember the passive smoker era? So people literally actively smoked and there were passive smokers. And then we found out it was affecting people, whether they knew it or not, whether they like it or not, whether they're smoking directly or not. So it's a really fascinating subject. Looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, so even like you just said, some people kind of just recognize slight energy changes or things like that. Say even like the phrases that people often use, like, I don't know, that lit me up, or she's glowing, or sparks fly, but people don't really understand that that's to do with energy, right? And like you said, until you can really prove it.
Yeah.
Let's start off with auras then. So what is an aura? Just like the basic version of it.
Yeah. Well, where to start or how to start or what's the most useful way to start? I think, I mean, it's not like an unknown word today. If it was the 60s, you'd kind of buy a book, Aura, but today you can put it in Google, right? Aura, you're going to get 10,000 pages. So what can I say that's going to be different to Google or AI? Maybe not much, but AI can only go so far. It's not going to actually have the living experience of it, right? And I think we've all had a moment when you meet somebody. It might even be people you remember from years ago that just a few minutes meeting, it still somehow impressed you. And that's because we're picking up things, even if it's not conscious. In fact, the more conscious you get of the aura, and the unseen worlds in general, you have this thing. You can go back through your life, you can think back, and you'll be able to detect what was going on electrically, like when you were 5 years old or 7, because the memory was going in, the experience was going into your life. It's in your memory. But at the time, we didn't know how to make sense of it. And later, we can make sense of it. So, what am I saying? I'm not sure what I'm saying. I'm saying that let's find a way into the subject that's a little bit more like useful and real, rather than just the words.
Mm.
So, the basics is it's a radiation, right? It's an energy, but from that point onwards, it gets like which area do you want to look at? Because every area of our body, for example, has a different aura. So when we say
Yes.
aura, there's like one main aura, which is like an egg shape around the person. If you put your arms out like that, that's how far out it goes. So it's pretty
Mm.
big. If you put your arms out and you think of the size of that over you and under you,
Yeah.
it's pretty big. So it means that when you walk past people on a busy street, you see London, New York, people are passing like that, you think, well, I don't like bumping into people. I don't like touching people, in the subway, and people prefer not to be touching if they can, right?
Yeah.
But we're touching all the time electrically, our auras are crossing. And there is some degree of transference. So you may come home feeling the residual nature of somebody that you were next to, or somebody that you exchanged with. And I think people recognize this. So um, if you have a kind of commuting situation like that every day, or there's somebody in your family you have to deal with a lot, we can start feeling this residual energy in our system. But the problem is, once it's in your bubble, you tend to interpret it in your way. So you don't recognize that it came from Fred.
Mm.
You think, I'm feeling a bit depressed, but maybe that energy of depression was in Fred's aura. So this is where it's good to get a bit smarter about it and know what your energies are like and how to refresh them, how to protect them,
Mm.
um, to filter out some of that stuff when we go into the day, and then also how to enhance it so it gets brighter. I love
Yes.
that expression you used. It lit me up.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It
do.
just, yeah. Well, he's very bright. I
Yeah.
mean, it's referring to light, right?
Yeah,
He's a
exactly.
bright guy, or she's a bright lady. Yeah.
I remember it wasn't that long ago we did a little workshop with Ian actually. And we closed our eyes and we felt the person walk towards us, and we would then tell them when we could feel that they're entering towards our energy field, and it is quite
Yeah.
far away, and you can actually feel like your body moving. I think I was moving forward rather than back. Some people felt the backwards pull, I felt the forward pull. And
Mm.
then we were like closing our eyes and trying to feel each other's aura and any kind of areas of heat and stuff, which is really weird if you tune in, because yeah, like you are brushing up with different people's energy fields every day, aren't you?
Yeah, which brings up the question, do you really want to continue listening to this podcast? Because maybe it's better not to feel anything.
Yeah. Mhm. Oh, so
um, but it's true. We have to kind of open up your sensitivity gradually, and in a controlled way. Because I think if you went out into the day seeing auras
mm,
and feeling things like
mm,
full on tomorrow, it would be overwhelming. It would be psychologically testing.
yeah.
So it's good to do this type of stuff gradually and kind of process, what does that imply and what does that mean, and then learn some methods also of managing your own energies, and filtering a little bit. Always we're a victim of things we don't understand, and so you don't want to be like on the high sea, just the waves taking you any direction, right? You want to be able to navigate and go in the direction you want. And so uh, it's the same with the energies. We go into the day, we're subject to a lot of influences electrically, and as you start to understand it, you can choose which direction you want to go. and start inducting in better energies
Mm,
to them. So it's not just about protecting and getting better, it's about improving as well.
mm. So, from my understanding, the different auras, there's different colours to the auras that can change, I don't know, minute by minute, even from your emotions. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've seen like just, I think, I don't know if it's called surface level aura, if that's even a thing, like a bright white light around a few people. So, is that like the first level, if there's such levels to this game, that you'd enter into, and then you actually start seeing other colors?
Yeah. Normally people see white first of all when they start seeing the aura. And if you want to start seeing auras, whoever's listening, if you don't already, take a tip from the Egyptians. Because if you look at Egyptian art, they'll show these two people right face to face, right? There's a lot of that sort of, and then it goes into why the funny hand postures, because those are to do with um, energy flow as well. So they're positioning their hands to do with a kind of creating a circuit between the two figures in the hieroglyphs. So, but if you look at their eyes particularly, got all this detailed artwork. It's very specific, but their eyes are not looking at each other. They're right in front of each other, but their eyes are kind of
Mm,
shown to be looking like they're looking off to the side, right? And that's because the unseen worlds, the electrical worlds, were really important to the Egyptians. And the further back in history you go, not only the Egyptians, but around the world, there's a lot of evidence that people felt these things and tried to create circumstance to have a better energy in their ecology or temple or whatever it was. So this looking a little bit off to the side is to facilitate distracting the central pupil, which takes in the physical impression. And so you can do it different ways. You can like is even watching this podcast, like I'm looking at you and I'm seeing the first level of your aura.
right.
Um,
I hope it
but
looks
because if you
good.
keep looking in
Hmm.
one spot, it's fine.
Mm,
Yeah, it's fine. First, the first, if you look at one spot, your eyes are kind of start picking up. Really, you're using your peripheral vision. And
hmm
what we normally do with peripheral vision, as soon as we see something, we go to check it, right? We check it, but then you're pointing the physical bit of your eyes and it's going to disappear. So you think, oh, I must have been my imagination. The trick is to stay in that kind of, I'm seeing in my peripheral vision. I don't need to look directly. I can just keep
hmm
looking that way. You can look here, you can look between you and the thing or the person or whatever it is. You can look a bit above the head.
mm.
And a good time to practice is dawn or dusk, because the physical eye is biologically trained to start becoming a little bit less focused on the physical. Because at night, right, we're not seeing so many things. So in that transference stage of dusk, it's quite easy to see auras. And good way to practice is with trees. Go out at
Mm.
dusk, look at the point on the tree or just over the tree, and you'll start to see the radiation of the tree.
Yeah, and I love what you said about ancient kind of history with the Egyptians as well, because they were depicted with like a halo-like structure, I guess, above their head in a lot of images to do with the aura, I'm assuming, right? The kind of energy field around them.
Well, they've got a lot of these funny hats, right?
Mm.
In Egypt, they've got these things over their head. And here's a curious question: if they were seeing auras, why didn't they draw the aura like I just described? And like a lot of people see, they see this egg.
Mm.
If you want to see the egg, you need to go somewhere like the waterfront or a beach or a park at dusk and watch people from a distance.
Ah,
Because in that distance, you'll see this egg around them as they're walking. It's
yeah.
really mind blowing when you start seeing it and you think, oh, that's around us all the time.
Mm.
All the implications of that. But okay, so why didn't the Egyptians draw this? Um, and the reason is they weren't that interested in the stuff around the body, because from the neck down, everything's basically okay. I mean, give or take, being a bit sick or something's not well in the body, which is, important. But what I'm saying is it's basically fixed, whereas our head and our emotions are not fixed, which is can be a problem because they can go into any level of the astral light, any level of energy, and people end up disturbed mentally and with funny ideas and emotions and all that. But it can also evolve. And so they were only depicting what was going on from the neck upwards. Later on, that was picked up by like the Catholic Church. So you got the Pope, right, with
Mm.
that big funny hat.
Oh yeah.
And you see it's open. If you look at it, it's open at the top. It's called a mitre.
Mm.
Uh, and you think, well, they didn't say in the Bible what Jesus was walking around and he wanted to give a lecture, so he took his big hat off and left it on the table. But
Yeah.
there's no reference to big funny hats, right?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? It came from Egypt because they knew that this type of structure, they put it there physically later, like the Pope was wearing it physically. But when they went into the tombs in Egypt, Lord Carnarvon and all those guys, they never found any of those hats physically.
Okay.
There's no hats. You won't see those hats in Egyptian museums
Right. So it
because
was
they
just
didn't.
depicting that.
They were seeing, like you're painting of somebody, like you get a
Mm.
street artist. Imagine a street artist, he draws your face and then he draws your
Yeah.
whatever's above the head.
Yeah. And
That's
that's
what.
just normal.
Yeah, they were seeing it as normal, and for them it
Mm.
was normal. Well, it was normal, but they were also often showing kings and things like that who, at that time, were the idea was that they were facilitated to be plugged into greater energy. So, not necessarily absolutely everybody had the same thing above the head.
Mm.
But yeah, they were drawing what they or painting what they were seeing in the unseen worlds. So,
Mm.
which is quite extraordinary to go back to some of those images and think, wow,
Yeah. I'll have
that
to
was
have a look
amazing.
now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That is really
yeah,
interesting. So with auras depicting kind of your emotion and changing color due to your emotion, is that correct, first of all? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Then
and
say,
vice versa, by the way.
okay. So say if you're feeling a little bit down, agitated, not quite sure, anxious even, can you cleanse your energy field, your aura, which would therefore make you feel a little bit better?
Yes. But just to explain why I interrupted there, because a lot of people see it that way, which is true. Your emotions and your mental state also affects your aura, but also the opposite's true. The state of your aura is affecting your mental state and your emotions.
Okay,
And
so
that's pretty shocking to process because what that's saying is a person could be struggling emotionally and struggling mentally, and until they get their aura clear, they're going to keep in that struggle. So this is
mm,
why sometimes certain therapies don't work because a person uh, does the process with the emotions or with the mind, but it's kind of like trying to feel better, and you're all dirty. You need to take a shower,
mm,
and somebody's saying, just sit down and relax and breathe deep,
yeah,
and you're like, I need to take a shower first. Like
yeah,
electrically, we need to take a shower. We need to clean so that I can do more subtle like breathing and psychology work in there. I have got a lot of psychologists, neuropsychologists that study with me because they've come to the understanding that just talking and going through that process, it's not that it's not a good thing, but there's this other element of having to clear
mm,
the aura. But to your question, yeah, it changes with our mind state. Like we can direct our energies literally. Can we do a little practical to
yeah.
for people to experience them? Okay, so first thing back to seeing. If you put your fingers out like that,
So that, how would you describe that for people that potentially listen to audio only?
what I'll invite you to do is go to your nearest white wall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got one right here, but imagine I'm up against the white wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to separate my fingers.
Right.
And
So
you
put
can, if
two
you look
fingers.
carefully, even in this podcast, you'll see it. Like right now, you'll see, I can see it in my screen. what you do is you look in the gap between where my fingers. See if you can see it,
Hmm.
Tash, with the fingers. I'm going to separate
I
my
can see
fingers.
it with your fingers, yeah.
Yeah. See, look in the gap.
Yeah, this white long string of light between your
That's
fingers.
right. That's right. Now it's a different frequency here. It's actually a different. It might look still white, but actually there's a different color comes out of that finger. I look like I'm giving the finger to
Mm.
everybody. Apologies. There's a different radiation comes out of that finger. That's why the fingers are different lengths because there's a different frequency, like a flute.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's coming out of each. The Egyptians show all the fingers the same length. So there's a mystery because what they're doing is saying something else is going on with their energies. They're not processing what, like the standard stuff, they're processing higher stuff.
Oh,
So, okay,
interesting.
so we saw that, right? So there's energy coming out your fingers. This is why sometimes somebody touches you and you kind of get a jolt,
Yeah.
or you don't like somebody's hand on your arm, and another person you have an urge to hold the hand or touch or whatever. So if you felt that, then the next thing is give your hands a shake.
Mm.
Come on, Tash, join in, Tash.
Right, yeah.
Give your hands a shake. Now, normally I'd ask remove the watch, so you got a watch on there.
Yeah.
Just take it off because it does break the flow a little bit.
Okay.
And then just trace down one hand like that. Remember those energies that we saw are coming out the. Just trace up and down with one hand like that, and then change to the other hand.
Also, brush your hand up and down.
Yeah, crash, but without touching. But you are touching. This is why we have to revise how we talk about things because we say
Hmm.
don't touch, but actually electrically. Now you may feel a kind of like a gliding sense, like a something stroking,
Mm.
very light.
Yeah.
Now you think, well, maybe that's my imagination. So now try this. Put your hand out and look from the tip of the finger down to the wrist and back up again slowly. And
So
then
it
do the other hand.
feels like you are.
Now it's more soft than using your fingers, but that's energy coming out of your eyes.
Oh, wow. Oh, is that
You know,
why
just
you can see, like, you can feel someone when they're looking at you and you're like, someone's looking at
that's
me?
exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly. You know, in the SAS, the soldier training, we'll come back to there's a bit more to do, but just to interrupt myself, which I like to do because I talk too much, so I think I need to interrupt to say something else that needs to be said. You know, um, they train the soldiers if they're approaching the enemy from behind, not to look at the back of the head, but to look at the shoes,
Mm.
because they say if you look at the back of the head, the person will feel it, and they'll feel somebody looking at them.
Yeah, which is
And so
true.
movies when they're coming up from behind, right? They're going to grab James Bond. They're going to grab from behind. They look at this. So sometimes you're looking at somebody and they turn. What they've felt is that ray, or
Mm.
the two rays coming out of the eyes, hitting their aura. It's crossing the magnetic field of the aura, and they feel the interference. But see, isn't it interesting? It's semi-conscious. This goes back to the first part of the conversation. A lot of the stuff is semi-conscious, and this kind of conversation is great because you start making sense of a lot of semi-conscious registrations, and we can start bringing it through to our consciousness and using it.
Mm.
My brother was in a restaurant once, and he saw a guy kind of glancing over at him strangely, and he met the guy on the way to the bathroom. They were both standing, and the guy said, "I'm sorry, I keep glancing over, but every time I look at you, I'm seeing two blue rays coming out of your eyes. What's that about?"
That's so
And
weird.
my brother, who studies this sort of thing, he knew. But how do you explain to somebody in 5 seconds in a restaurant? Well,
Yeah.
that's my aura. We have all these rays and energies coming out.
Yeah. Can't,
So,
just to interrupt you as well, and
yeah,
can't little
yeah,
children and little children see, I don't know, the unseen world a little bit more? And
yeah,
what do we then, like, dumb them down and like their imaginary friends and whatever, that
yeah.
they progress, and as an adult we don't have imaginary friends and we don't talk about auras? Because my little girl earlier, actually, she was just sitting on the floor and she was moving her hand around in front of her in a wave like motion, And I just said to her, "Oh, what can you see?" Like she might just be seeing something up, and that's fine that she can. But yeah, is that true
Yeah, for
from our
sure.
understanding?
Yeah, and if you, it's great you're opening up your, and you are opened up, but you're opening up more and more, like all of us, because the child can communicate things that doesn't get shut down, and you can say, "What did you see?" and "What's that?" I had a friend once who was in a waiting room at a doctor's, and he could see it. He can see electrically. When we say that, it's always to some degree. I don't think anybody sees everything, but we can start seeing a bit more and a bit more. He saw a fairy float through the room. There's two types of like blue balls that we hang off the Christmas tree and
Hmm.
little sparky things. You see them in nature once you start opening up you start seeing the aura of the tree, and then you start seeing sparky things and balls.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Yeah. And he had across from him, there was a mother with a child, probably 1 year old child, and the child reached out to touch
Mm,
the fairy like that. And he could see it reaching and seeing. And then the mother's hand came and pulled it down because the mother wasn't
mm,
seeing. It was a
yeah.
perfect example of sort of shocking up against
Mm,
people who don't, mothers and fathers, and society in general is not structured around this reality. So, but we can't wait for society to change and for everybody else to know. We've got to go ahead and work it out for ourselves, right? Otherwise, we might die waiting. But I was wanting to get to one thing,
yes.
which is go back to sensing this hand, right? Go back up and down. Give your hands a shake, maybe, just to freshen. And see if one hand is more sensitive than the other. Like right now, my right hand is more sensitive. The hands have polarities. One hand is a positive polarity, the other has a negative polarity. Can you feel something, Tash? Are you feeling one of the hands? You're
Yeah.
feeling okay.
Yeah.
And now stop and think of the blue sky and think of a silver wire from your head to the sky. And there's a line of blue force coming down. And now do it again and see if you feel the nature has changed.
I don't feel it as much now.
Yeah, it's because it's finer and softer.
Ah.
We'll do something else. Think of a mountain for a moment. Okay, a
Mm,
mountain, rocks, and it's solid, and the type of energy you need to climb that mountain. This is
mm,
now red energy as opposed to the blue sky. So you need that vigor, you need that strength. You
mm,
make sure you've eaten well before you climb the
mm.
mountain. I can see you peaking. Um, okay, so you feel that sort of the energy that your muscles need to operate. We need red energy to operate the muscles. Then come back again and sense that.
Yeah, so it feels stronger than what it did a minute ago.
Stronger, sort of thicker, stronger.
Yeah.
We could spend a lot of time going through the colors. Yellow, you feel it's sort of smooth and soft. Yellow is the softest color. That's the sensitive one. This is this finger here and its yellow force.
Okay.
This is the feeling, soft, emotional love finger. In palmistry they call it the Venus finger, but the Romans used to say there's a vein running from that finger to the heart.
Is that why
And
your wedding ring
this is why I put the wedding
is
ring. That's
on?
right. So
Yeah.
all these little connections, right? Like that's why the alchemists back in the day, they would use that finger to mix their potions because it was the
Oh.
most soft and loving. They would never mix a
Ah.
potion with the red finger. I say
Okay.
that's the red finger, that one. That's why when we were angry, we go, "Don't you ever do that
Oh
again."
yeah, that's the
We're
red finger.
throwing out firm, strong
Okay.
force. So
Well, do you know what
yeah,
the
we've got
thumb
a whole
is?
world there.
Do you know what the thumb is? Just like thumbs up. Is that a good one?
If you look around, it's amazing to think everything around us. If you look at a city, the thumb really built it because when this thumb separated out, it it's plugged into, the thumb is plugged into the head and white force, white energy, mental energy. That's why when you go to a doctor's, they like to have a white, sort of
Mm.
white normally, because they want to keep it clear and clean and neutral. So the freedom of the thumb was synchronized with the freedom of thinking. Our evolution, like being able to create things, we needed that thumb free to be able to do it. I mean, how was a horse going to build write a letter or build a building, right? The thumb breaking away from the other fingers was also to do with the freeing up of the mental energies. So the thumb is an amazing thing to study by itself. In fact, in Chinese palmistry, they will read a person just from the thumb. They'll do a whole character analysis just from the thumb.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick little example. If you've got a bump there, you're stubborn. You're
I've got a
stubborn.
bump there.
You're a bit stubborn. Me
I do
too.
have a bump there, not gonna lie.
It's not a problem as long as you administrate it. So isn't it interesting? Because people look at Tash and think, oh, she's so easygoing, she's so sweet, she's
I'm
so
not
nice.
easygoing. I definitely couldn't say that. I like things organized, planned, to the point. So yeah, not easy. Not easy like go with the flow, like, oh, let's go out now. And I'm like, no, not now. Haven't got that in my
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. People get a surprise. So stubborn. Another person, when you see it just drop straight down, it's just soft there. The person's very easygoing,
Okay.
and so it's just one thing, but there's
Yeah.
the whole hand is a world. But we went through all that really just to say that remember when we changed the frequency by thinking of the blue sky and the mountain. So blue is a very good filtering color, along with a little layer of violet or purple. You
Mm.
know, the priests in the Catholic Church, there's a reason why they put on purple and violet sashes to do exorcisms. So if you, blue is a very good filter. It filters things out, the frequency of blue. Violet even more so. So what you do is you can use your hands and just do a pass a couple of times around your aura like that, and back to thinking about the blue sky. And then your mind can also direct that energy, not just your hands, because your mind is already directing your hand, isn't it?
Mm.
So it's your head that's making your hand go up. So you can do it again without actually moving your hands. And then a bit like Shiva with 8 arms, you can spread that blue all around you. If it helps to imagine an egg. Imagine an egg, a chicken egg, and you drop the can of paint over it, and it's like blue, got
All
to go,
right.
bloop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't always want it there because when you get together later with your friend or your mum, you don't want to be like separated out from them.
Mm.
So what you can do is make a little movement that closes and opens. I do normally do that. Blue finger, this energy that comes out of that finger is blue. That I visualize the shield, this filter. I'm going out into the day, and then I'll visualize a little layer of violet around it. When I come home, I deliberately like open it up. I'm not
Oh,
walking all the time like that. It's just a
no, no.
connecting gesture, like people do
Yeah.
that when the boss comes in the army or navy.
That reminds me, don't isn't that where the term sleep tight comes from? It don't our auras close up when we sleep and go inwards?
Yeah, yeah. When you're looking at somebody on the beach or in a big open field, their aura will generally expand to double the size. So when we say wide awake, the aura
Mm.
has gone wider. And like
Mm.
you're right, when we sleep tight, the aura comes down to about half the
Yeah.
size. The Buddhists do it as well deliberately without going to sleep. That's why they all look a little bit sleepy. Sorry, Buddhists. But they're doing this while your eyes go. But the way you can do that deliberately to bring your aura in is put your hands in that posture. You'll see the Buddha sometimes depicted like that. And the magnetic field of the hand will bring the aura in half the size.
Okay.
If you hold your hands like that, if you want to slow yourself down and still yourself, put your hands in that position, look downwards like a Buddhist. If you look at those Buddhist statues, the eyes are not closed, they're looking downward. The reason for that is that they're plugging into the earth, so that feminine polarity of the earth. and actually gold force comes up out of the earth. If you breathe 3 or 4 times and hold your hands in that position, you really feel yourself start to slow down, and your aura will start to come in closer.
I feel my hands tingling.
Hmm?
I can feel my hands tingling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as the aura comes in, it's bringing in, it's compacting the force, let's say.
Yeah, yeah.
This is why they got a little smile. They have the secret, these little, this little.
Ah. Mm.
But a lot of these things have electrical origins, but later it becomes symbolic and a person adopts the
Mm.
posture and they don't really know why. Like think about mudras,
Yes.
these finger positions. So a person will meditate and put the finger in the position. But the idea was to create a circuit of energy and to pump blue into the head area, create a circuit of energy. So you're just sitting inside one specific.
Ah, and it's like the calm energy. Because the blue, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. We do so many
Or
things without realizing.
yeah.
Was you going to say something? Sorry, you said, oh.
Oh, I was just going to say, or that you'll see them sometimes use the red finger. And that's to do with being firm and resistant and
Ah,
robust,
yes.
which we need.
Okay. Okay, let's go a little bit into cleansing energy of the house, if that's okay. So, what does that mean? When I say that, I kind of think of, is it feng shui? Probably said it completely wrong. Is that the right thing to think of the
I
energy
don't
in
know
your
how to say it
house?
either.
Right.
I say feng shui, but I think that's
Okay.
wrong. It's yeah, but it sounds more like a Chinese food than an actual.
Yeah.
Maybe just a word about clearing the aura for who's
Yeah.
watching. What can I do to clear? We've spoken about it. I'm seeing auras. There is a specific process, so there is a more detailed process. But if you want 1 or 2 tips now, just for the podcast, make sure you even if you don't go under the cold shower, you can just stand with your back to it, but put your
Mm.
shower onto cold because the cold water will pull static out of the aura. So when the cold is running, you don't have to go up because I know in England it gets very cold. I can't have a cold shower. But if you can get yourself just out of it and have it running down, just if you can take it on your skin, great. But otherwise, just get a little bit out of it. And just use the magnetism of the hands because there's a magnetic field as well as the rays that come out. There's a general magnetic field like a baseball bat, baseball mitt, and just sweep around as if you're taking foam off your body.
Mm.
Just sweep around, starting from the head, as if you're removing cream or foam from your body, and flick downwards into that running water,
Mm-hmm.
and get out as far as your shower box allows. Pull your hands out that way as well, and do the same thing. Just sweep around. The magnetism of the hand will pick up static that can get into the aura from our daily exchanges and from the street. You're going to pick up that and throw it, and it's going to get washed down and out. So, very simple way. Another way
Mm.
is if you're out, make sure if you're out somewhere with a beach or, well, in England, but anywhere there's beach with sand, everywhere else except England.
Yeah.
Um, sorry. Uh, Take your shoes off because the natural aura of the earth is going to flood your aura. When we wear shoes, we live in a concrete city, we live on the third floor, we go around in cars, we're not, that energy of the earth is not coming,
Mm.
flushing through us.
So is that like grounding that you could do that on the grass?
Well, it is grounded because there's two-way action. One is that the earth will suck up that any crap in our system, especially if you add in a little bit of that movement. But the other direction is the earth has a presence, it's a living being, but we're not normally open to it. So with shoes off, put out your hands and that, and breathe in
Mm.
upwards. Instead of breathing in the air, breathe in upwards. You'll feel a flush come through your aura of the earth's energies. So this was always where they built temples in the past. They would build it in places where there was a particularly strong current coming up from the earth, and they put the temple there. And then what you do is you take your shoes off before you go into the
Oh
temple.
yeah. Oh, that's
So,
interesting. Yeah. Oh,
but
all makes
okay,
sense.
yeah. But well, we came to temples and spaces, so we're already in the area of the house, right?
Yes. Yeah. So a little bit about cleansing the house. Why would we want to
Feng
cleanse
Shui.
the energy of the house? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you got any pointers, or why would we even want to do that?
Yes. Well, it's a big specialized subject,
Mm,
Feng Shui, but we
mm,
call it geomancy in the West. The difference is in the East, they kept doing it. Like there's still a lot of that knowledge and sensitivity in the East. But what happened in the West is we had geomancy, Stonehenge, and all these places were built along ley lines. Even my name, Spin Ley, comes from ley, which is a ley line. So it was very much part of life in the Celtic times. But then came along the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire was all about red energy and sort of structure and had a much more masculine energy. They really focused on Mars, romance on Mars. The whole thing was about red, more masculine energy. The only round thing they gave us was pizza, the
mm.
Italian. Everything else is like straight, all the roads lead to Rome. Have you heard that
Yeah,
expression?
yeah, yeah.
Straight lines. In Feng Shui, they say avoid two straight lines because heat will build in the where they meet. So two yang lines, masculine lines. So where heat builds up in the house is in the corners because straight lines and walls are meeting. So
Hmm.
actually, when you clean a house electrically, you've got to move from corner to corner because that's where static builds. A bit like there's dusty parts of the house, right?
Mm.
And there's a dusty or static part of a room in a house. So, but just to finish that line of thinking, the Romans, we really extended out that way of structuring civilization in the West out from the Roman Empire. So we've lost. It's become very hard. Everybody's agitated. We're very stressed and all the rest of it because the planet itself has a lot of curves and round shapes, and where there are straight shapes is normally in support, like a flower, of a round shape,
Yeah.
right? So the native peoples, like the Indians and the native peoples of the earth, normally build their houses as a circle, like a teepee or an igloo.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
normally round because the energy will also flow in a cool blue way, and there was always an exit point for static energy. We build square houses, and
Mm.
not only do we live in a square house, which tends to cause static to build up and causes more aggressive energy because there's just not that same blue flow. Not only do we do that, but everything in the house is square too. The window, the desk. If you think of looking around
Oh,
your
yeah.
picture,
Your
the
TV.
painting, the
Yeah.
pillow, the TV screen, the TV, the table. You may have a round table, but most people have a square table. Everything's square,
Mm.
uh, and that causes static to build up. So the natives built round houses for flow. And if you look at people doing Tai Chi and things like that, the movement's always very, very curved and flowing to get that flow back into the system. So that's kind of an aside, but just to say that they really, it was really very important to keep that flow of energy through the house. See, it's good that you've got a plant in the corner where you've got that plant looking behind you. And it's good the type of plant as well, because there's three types of leaves. There's leaves that are connect to the moon, leaves that connect to the planet, and leaves that connect to the sun, solar force. Those are sun plants, so
Oh,
sun leaves,
okay.
that long, long, sharp-shaped leaves. And the radiation that comes out is like a sharp line, which will break up static, and you've got it in the corner.
Yes, that's
That's
good.
really that corner. But
Okay.
what do you do otherwise? You want a quick method on how to clean and freshen the energy in the house? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
okay? So you need to open a window. Okay, so let's say in my room, I'd open up that window. Can it be just a
Hmm.
little bit? Why are you opening the window so that static energy is pushed out of that? window. So then I go to the right of it. And if you really got to do a serious detox, clap first, one or two times,
Yeah.
and go from corner to corner clapping. The sound of the vibration will break up dense static energy. So the way to think of that energy is if you've ever been to a river and there's a little area where the water's got stuck, like in a little whirlpool, and starts getting yicky and bits of rubbish get in there, and then the insects come and yick. This is why we want that flow. We don't want to get that stuck energy.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go around corner to corner, clap, 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 and that's going to break up dense energies. The next thing to use is a bell. You don't need the whole range, but you want one of these types of bells, or a bell that has a fine sound to it. And bells are great for breaking up static.
Okay.
And do the same thing, move from corner to corner. It's not enough just to stand in the middle and ring the bell because the vibration will come out, but it's quite likely the static will stay in the corner. Go from corner to corner, ring the bell in each corner, and then ring it in the center of the room. And the frequency, the sound, has to be a fine sounding bell, like bling rather than blang.
Okay.
It will break up static. And you'll start to feel the difference. The room will start to feel fresher. And this was the origin of church bells. What they did, very clever idea. People are walking to church, grumpy from the week, miserable, don't want to go to church, it's my day off. But they're on their way to church and they ring the bell, bang, bang, bang. As they're approaching the church, which is meant to be the sacred space, the vibration would clean the people before they arrive.
Mm.
So yeah, bells have been used in many religions for this idea. I had a friend who saw a Japanese monk once in Japan. He would ring the bell. This monk was walking through the shopping center and he rang a little bell and then he would step into the space that he,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
he
Oh,
was
wow.
moving. Imagine going shopping like that.
I know. Wow,
Take a while.
took it
At
seriously,
least you
yeah.
could take a while, but you'd be clean electrically.
Yeah. Oh, they're really great, simple kind of ways that we can start, for sure. Is
Yeah.
there any questions that would help the listener to kind of pause and reflect on what we've been speaking about, or a little homework task, or that you could think of to kind of end? Because we can go into, I'd love to pick your brain even more with the cleansing the house, but for time reasons, is there anything
Yeah.
else now that, I don't know, like I just said, a few questions or a little homework that people could take away from this episode?
Yeah. Um, One is there's a principle, if you remove static, remove energy, put something better in its place.
Okay.
That's a good principle. So after the bell, pass a bit of incense. Now, a lot of people want to be a little bit lazy with it and just pass incense and hope it cleans the house or leave the incense burning in a corner. It's not really going to clean the house. That's a bit like throwing perfume in the bathroom without cleaning it first.
Mm.
So when you remove something, there's a vacuum. So if you want to put something good in, so after you've rung the bell, pass some incense. And I would suggest to listeners, do it over 3 days, between 3 days and a week, and then sense how your house feels. You're going to notice a difference. And if you're doing this electrical cleaning of the aura at the same time, you're going
Mm.
to start feeling that your home is a sanctuary. You're going to start feeling a new level of well-being. And you want to set it in as a habit, of course. You want to set it in as a new standard. So it's like having a new standard of cleaning, or we tidy the house and think it's never going to get messy again. It's going to get messy again. Our aura is going to get dirty again. The house is going to get dirty again. But it's nice to have an automatic uh, uh, resource and way of setting it straight again. So
Mm.
you want to get used to the feeling of what it's like when it's clean, what your aura is like when it's clean. So when it does get messy or upset from a day out, you can come home and set it straight.
Is that so? That's like a daily thing you'd recommend?
I recommend every day for 3 to 7 days.
Okay,
So
I'll
you
check
start getting
in.
a sense of the standard and you train yourself to do it. After that, use it every few days or when you feel necessity. Like if I travel, we went to a B&B up the coast a few weeks ago. First thing is when I get in the room is clean it electrically because I don't want to be sitting in the residual energies of the last people that were there.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah.
Osmosis, we're osmosis machines. So unless you take control of your aura and the electrical space, then you will suck in what's in the atmosphere. So this is why we like to go to nice places because we want to have a good osmosis process,
Mm. It's all so interesting. Thank you so much.
isn't
And
it?
hope,
It's so
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, thank you for sharing all your knowledge, Colin. And obviously people can find you on weofferwellness.co.uk as well, Colin, all of his offerings on there and your wellbeing coaching as well. How would you put it?
What I'm offering is a 1.5 hour session to really look at that person's situation, to go through this process with them, make sure it's nice and clear, maybe practice together, but also to show some methods on how to detox out old emotions, thought patterns, how to clean more specifically around the head, because a lot of unwanted energies get kind of stuck in this region, and and then look at the person's individual case where they might be having trouble with their own energies or dealing with somebody else and what can be done. So
Perfect.
1.5 hour immersion with me, and I'll put a nice price for the We Offer Wellness, wonderful We Offer Wellness
Mm.
platform. And thank you, Tash. It's great to talk.
Yeah, thank you so, so much. And I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Visit weofferwellness.co.uk to find lots of wellness experiences along with more resources to help you on your wellness journey.